Welcome back to another episode of the Blockrunner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
And finally, joining us today, we got Phillip, the co-founder of Cookie DAO. Thank you for joining us, Phillip.
Pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to meet you. You know, we made a video about Cookie, about a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, it was a very popular video.
It was one of our biggest videos recently because I think, we've been deep diving into this AI sector for probably 2 months now, maybe a little bit longer than that. But we're really trying to understand, like, where is crypto's place in this AI proliferation, right? Obviously, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not going away. It's only going to become much more important in our daily lives over time. But what, at the end of the day, how is crypto going to contribute to anything, if at all? So that's really what we're trying to get to the root of. And after seeing what AI XBT did and just completely black holed all of crypto's mind share for a solid month or two, I think we internally started to understand how important data and data aggregation and
propagation.
Yeah, that seems to be the underlying secret ingredients to optimal outputs that at least garner attention and produce value, right? So we looked into what you guys are building. It seemed like you guys are building the perfect manufacturing plant for this type of secret ingredient. And then, there's enough hints out there that you're, going to have a heavy presence in this agentic space. So how spot on were we with our initial thesis? Are we pretty close? And after that, just kind of give us your background of how you even got to this point.
Yeah, of course. So basically, in terms of my personal background, I'm coming mainly from IT and marketing world. So I was working specifically in few marketing startups, as well as Deloitte Digital for over 3 years. And I was there a consultant in terms of implementation of different finance systems, core banking systems around the world. And basically, in parallel, I got built with crypto space in 2017. So I was DJing a bit on the side, observing, reading white papers, getting more and more excited. And basically, since 2021, I'm fully professionally working in crypto, building the whole Cookie ecosystem, including Cookie3 and Cookie DAO. So basically, this is a bit brief about from where I'm coming from in terms of what we are right now building, and generally what was the beginning of the whole Cookie concept was that we were coming from the conclusion that crypto space is a bit much more challenging than Web 2 in terms of data aggregation, because as in Web 2 we have those in siloed ecosystems of different APIs that you can integrate to. In Web 3, on the other hand, we have the blockchain, not one, but actually plenty of those blockchains, and new coming up every single week right now, or even single day, as we are experiencing recently. So basically, it's very tough and challenging for both companies, individuals, and investors to actually aggregate those data together and make them useful, understandable for either humans or eventually AI, as we are experiencing right now. So basically, we were starting from the standpoint of the data will be run, the whole digital world will be running on the data. It was still this pre-ChatGPT era. Once ChatGPT was launched, we realized that first of all, our thesis was correct, and we got even more bullish on that, because it only confirmed that the data will be not only fueling 100% of the usage of the internet by humans, so few billions of people, but also probably even more LLMs and agents that will be actually consuming those data in a more effective and like scalable way than like our organic brains, which weren't actually designed specifically for consuming so much data as we are like right now bombarded. So this is like the pretty high level story how we came to this point of like building right now and positioning as a leader of AI data layer in crypto space. And generally our like vision is that we believe that the open, decentralized ecosystems will thrive, and only those will be able to come up with like the dynamics of the development of like AI, because as we see, and I wouldn't like separate Web 2, like Web 2 and Web 3 actually, because I think this will like be merged somehow in the future, and probably as we experience it like with like the next iteration of like Web 1.0 as in like Web 2, then it will the same happen with Web 3. So basically, we believe that the on-chain data will be the fundamental intelligence and information about either businesses, customers, like financial intelligence in the future economy, like digital economy worldwide. And basically, this is how we are positioning to be one of the main data components and providers of that.
Yeah. I remember there was a saying in Web 2 for a long time that data was the new oil. And so in the context of AI, data is the new oil, because that is what makes the differentiation between one AI agent and its access to data to another. Because a lot of the large language models are essentially the same. It's DeepSeek, it's OpenAI, it's these different models that exist. So, when it comes to, gathering this information, do you have to scrape data like on Twitter and then compile that data into like a database and then make that accessible via an API? Like, what is the effort that it takes to actually aggregate specific data that you need and make it accessible to anyone using Cookie DAO?
Yeah, very good question. So basically, I would say like the entry barrier of like gathering the data is being lowered. And eventually it will be pretty open for everyone to do it. Even like every framework right now, like Agentic framework has this like scrapers for specific websites and platforms. So basically we already have like templates for doing it. And we think that we won't be like competing on the open market by being this like scraper or like gatherer of the data. And right now, we obviously have like very sophisticated infrastructure in terms of specifically on-chain data, which is not so obvious, but generally all of the data that you are seeing at Cookie.fun are coming from our nodes that we are running. And basically, we are not like buying those data from anywhere outside of our ecosystem. In terms of like the Twitter provides actually pretty sophisticated APIs for that. But obviously, if you have some like much simpler needs and demands, you can like use those frameworks that are providing some scrapers. In terms of how we are seeing the future is that we think that, again, this like entry barrier will be lowered down, and operators will change a game, I would say. So like the agents that are actually using browser and can scrape different custom website without being like templated for that. So basically you can think of like operators in the future as in like unified, standardized APIs that will be like agents basically will be this intermediary that will be scraping some data from the website that we are seeing as internet users, and then the agent will be able to convert those data, normalize them, and distribute to some databases, some data lakes, and then you can imagine what we can do and whatever anyone can do with those data. So we think that this direction is the correct one, because we think that being limited to only the data sources we are providing as a cookie ecosystem is too less, basically, and we wouldn't be on the market in probably few months if we would only limit to those that we are actually covering directly. So we'd like to open it for the people and for the users, for the businesses and for the companies, because there are also plenty of private data sets and data sources. You can run company have CRM, for example,
sure.
Which obviously you won't be sharing with anyone else, but why wouldn't you use it for the data agent swarm that is actually maybe suggesting recommending you some marketing strategies based on the Twitter on-chain and maybe your CRM data, because without the CRM data, the recommendation will be 50% worse than with those data. So basically, we think that giving this opportunity and possibility for the users to plug in different sources, and also making them, giving them this ability to plug whatever the custom source can be, whether those are nodes from your calls that were actually provided by the AI node taker, or whether this is CRM or any other API that you are maybe already paying for. We shouldn't be limiting that. And we think this is the way of dealing with the data in the future, to provide the framework of the data lake and the data aggregation. So those data will be mapped in a proper, correct way. So whether you are having the data from 3 different sources that are talking about specific entity, let's say token, Ethereum, the framework should actually identify that, okay, this specific data sets coming from this source, and this source is actually covering the same entity that should be mapped to the same entity in the database. And this is the challenge for smaller companies and even bigger ones, because it's a lot of work to actually map such a thing. But having agents working with us, we already have those internal agents screening our databases for many purposes, and this is exactly the future we are heading to, and we are believing will be the biggest leverage in terms of what we already built.
Yeah, so let me see if I understand what you're saying, Philip. So you're saying that right now you are running your own blockchain nodes, right? Let's say a few blockchains, and you're collecting that data and you're making it accessible via APIs. And with that data alone, someone might come in and build an AI agent that is a good, let's say, a good enough trader, right? But what you're saying is you want to create a platform where people can contribute their own private data in a way that kind of fits within your current framework, and allow that entity to build an AI agent that is very unique to that platform. And so that's pretty much aligned.
And yeah, exactly. But the agent, I'm not sure to what kind of agent you are referring to, but the agent can do with those data a pretty broad range of things, because let's not limit it to only posting content on socials or even trading, because this agent can prepare and create the whole marketing strategy for the next 2 months for your company based on those data.
I see.
He can maybe even execute it somehow, some way. Even show from AI16, he was actually sharing some screenshots yesterday, I guess, with the data, with the agent swarm. That is helping a marketing team, content team, with posting some tweets on X. So basically, you can do whatever you like actually with those data ultimately. we aim to become this like intelligence layer, so like deep research layer for what's coming. In terms of the execution on top of that, we are aiming to be compatible with all those like frameworks, other projects, protocols that are building something in terms of the action and like tasks that will be performed by those agents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in order to come up with a marketing campaign, it needs to have an understanding of what a marketing campaign is, and then contextually address that strategy with what's happening on Twitter. So that means that the platform that is leveraging kind of like the Cookie DAO kind of framework, they would have to at least contribute some of this data to this AI agent to be able to produce that marketing campaign, right?
What do you mean?
So it's like, so for example, like if you have an agent that is leveraging Twitter data, do you provide Twitter data as part of the platform, or does a platform who's leveraging Cookie DAO? Okay.
Yeah. So basically, we will be like providing some part of the data, like that we are already providing, even more.
I see.
But on top of that, you'll be able to add whatever you'd like, basically.
Okay. So my next question is, how do you determine, like, of Twitter, because Twitter is a big place, how do you determine what data do you service, like offer to your community? Is it like specific crypto Twitter? I mean, you know, how do you determine that?
Yeah, it's specifically crypto Twitter.
Okay.
To make it straightforward. So basically, that was probably the main challenge in terms of selecting the data. Because like you can like analyze terabytes of the data, but the biggest like value is from like selecting the accurate ones and the ones that will be providing some value. So basically, like limiting the group of the accounts that can be analyzed is the first step. The same like with like on-chain labels like smart money. So like Nansen is providing like, this is like their, I guess, main value proposition. They are providing like information about the net flows, outflows, and like inflows of like smart money. So they just like labeled specific wallets on the specific characteristics that they met some requirements, and which are defining them as like smart money. And we are doing the same actually on the on-chain side and like social side. So like smart followers also can be compared to this like process similarly.
So is this strategy as far as like determining, you know, crypto native data and information as like, this is the killer moat to be focusing on, at least for now, is the thesis is like the eventual killer product of like AI agents, at least relevant to the crypto space. It definitely has to be some sort of agent that can maximally utilize these specific data sources, right? Because agents, you know, they have such broad application, but, you know, I think as we understand the crypto markets, you know, everybody's always seeking that next killer narrative, killer meta, right? You know, I guess the term that people are kind of like pushing for these days is DeFi AI. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but DeFi, but with the AI at the end.
Yeah.
Is that like the killer end product to like, you know, leveraging cookies data moat? Like, how would you describe that? What does the actual product look like?
Yeah, actually, this is very also interesting question. I would say in terms of like where we are heading in terms of the sector, I would say no one has idea where we are heading specifically. I just remind myself like what Sam Altman was like saying about like, I don't know, like 2 years ago or something, or even 3 years ago, when he was asked about like the business model of like monetization of OpenAI, and basically he answered that we will ask ChatGPT what should be the model, right? Once it will be like enough advanced.
Yeah.
So basically, probably we as the humans right now having this like whole echo chamber of the bubble we are seeing on crypto Twitter, as we do, all of us. I think we are still not aware of what's coming, because even like this question that I referred to a few minutes ago about like creating marketing strategy by the agent. Like, as we know, like attention is the real currency.
Yeah.
Even like, I guess Naval was tweeting about that 2 days ago. Like not time, but like the attention. And like the marketing strategy is simply asking agent, or like the swarm of agents, to come up with the strategy of gaining attention of the most valuable investors and users.
Right.
And basically, we don't know what will be the outcome of such questions, and when at some point such a swarm will come up with maybe revolutionary strategy.
Interesting.
And maybe it will happen like this, like quarter, or the next one, or the next year. We don't know. And actually, maybe that would be the coolest thing and like coolest narrative. And again, what started the recent, like first, hopefully not the last, leg up on the whole AI agent space was the GOAT. So basically, the excitement around autonomous agent that did something interesting, right? So we don't know what those like future agents will be doing autonomously, but our like role in this whole process of evolution is to make sure that at least the data, so probably one of the most crucial components of those agents, will be like, this field will be sorted out pretty like professionally, even comparing to Web 2. And we as a sector will be ready with providing this like intelligence for any like use case, and any like use case actually that other protocols will be coming up with. Either it's like trading strategies, or marketing strategies, or content creation, or like virality, or like alpha providing, or being like everyone's personal assistant, because that might be also the thing. So we will, like, we don't know right now exactly how the like future looks like, but I think this is like one of the most exciting things that we can still speculate about that.
Yeah, and it comes at I think almost like a perfect timing, where it seems, at least native to our crypto space, it seems like we've reached the I don't want to like degrade humanity too much, but it seems like we've come to like the top end of our creativity limits potentially. The fact that like our whole market is just dependent on memes at this point, and it seems like we've exhausted our ability to come up with like new iterations of something valuable or useful in the context of like a crypto economy, right? So it makes a lot of sense to kind of, like you're saying, usher in the next wave of like giving that iterative responsibility to like AI swarms.
Yeah, because the output, it could be novel.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
We need something. We're desperately seeking a novelty, right? So my question to you is, since you're like as close as you can be, and you're providing a very important pillar to like activating this potential, like what else is left besides like the proper data aggregation, the frameworks around that? You know, even like in traditional AI, like I hear these, you know, Google and OpenAI, they talk about like that's what's kind of like missing, is like the creativity of these AI models. It's really not there yet. But from your understanding, how close are we? Do you think it will happen in months or years, to where, you know, in combination with all this good data, and now there's more reasoning capabilities to these models, like, is that the inflection point where we can start to see novelty emerge?
Yeah, so like, you know, we are just humble builders basing on the models provided by like the giants. So I would say it really depends on them. Like basing on what they are, like their CEOs and founders are saying, the AGI should be reached by 2026, like the end of 2026. So I tend to like base on that basically, but it doesn't really depend on like Web3 sector. Let's be frank. I would say that what it's still to be like built and solved in crypto space is the actually DeFi AI UX layer, because it's kind of like obvious for most of us that like this like next and probably the first maybe like mainstream UX layer will be the agentic one. I love this like comparison. Some of the authors on Twitter that we are right now probably in Web3 in an era of like compared to the web pre-Google. So like if you like get back to the internet pre-Google, it was actually pretty challenging to use it because you didn't have any like search engine. You had to like know exact HTTPS addresses to go to specific websites. And actually, we have pretty the same situation right now in Web3, where you have specific like some cool solutions, obviously, but generally it's very still spreaded. You don't have like one place where you can do anything you like. And I think like the agents will provide this UX layer that is expected to boost the adoption of the crypto like exponentially, because people finally will be able to use crypto without even knowing about that, without knowing what's the MetaMask, what's the smart contract, what's the wallet address. Like it gives us so much opportunities that we didn't have before. And I think this is the moment we are right now. So like probably this year we will like some project will come up with kind of a like UX layer as Google did, or like any browser engine. And basically we will get much more users thanks to that. Probably it will be either some like fintech application like Robinhood or like Moonshot or like Revolut. I assume that it's already having some user base. I wouldn't say that like the new solutions without the users will be the ones that will be boosting this adoption. I would say maybe like X will do that. Actually, that would be perfect to actually give us like the like assistant agents that even Elon is thinking about, and like they are already working on like some payment solutions on X. So that will be ideal environment and ideal scenario, probably the most bullish one I could imagine for this cycle, to come up with some agentic cross crypto solution by X, for example, for like 1 billion of users.
Yeah, I totally understand kind of the problem you're outlining. It's sort of like right now we use CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap to find tokens, and even then, if you find tokens on these platforms, you're sort of kind of already late. So then you transition to just doom scrolling on Twitter to find new alpha and trying to find new potential opportunities, right? And so all this is manual labor, but in the Web2 world, when we're trying to find, a place to get tickets, airplane tickets to go, overseas, you just Google it and you just kind of search for it and it just kind of comes up because Google has crawled the entire internet and indexed the whole thing and made it accessible. So what you're saying, Philip, is that AI agents are going to be able to do that in the context of Web3, where you're scrolling on Twitter and you hear about this token and you go to their Twitter account and then you could just buy the token right there without having to deal with exchanges or blockchains and wallets and all that stuff. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, among others, like this is like the use case of like speculative type of things in terms of like looking for specific tokens, but it also applies to any other crypto use cases like using decentralized finance, which I would say is still waiting for its big moment. The infrastructure is already there, but it's not usable for people, basically. I don't know how many of you guys are like using DeFi on a daily basis, but we could do that if the UX would be much smoother. And like thanks to the agents, that will be soon possible. So that's very exciting. I would say like all of the cross-border payments and so on, like even the recent acquisition of like the Breach, I guess, by Stripe is actually integrating this direction. So I think the big players should or are already aware of what's coming, and I hope they are already building cool applications that will be enabling us to do different things. I assume that like every of us will be having some like agent assistant. Like we are based in Europe basically, and so we don't have Apple Intelligence, but you already have, I assume. So this is the direction. So like everyone will be having their assistant agents, and I cannot imagine the case that those agents won't be able to do like things on blockchains in the future. Probably it will happen in like year or maybe two, or maybe even like sooner, but eventually all those agents will be also compatible with blockchains. I cannot imagine another scenario, frankly.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying an example would be that I would be chatting with my assistant and I'll say, hey, I want to buy some cookie tokens. And then the chat would go through like, hey, I see that you have some Bitcoin. Would you like to swap Bitcoin for cookie? And I would say yes. And then all of a sudden it would just, how much do you want to swap? It's like $1,000, and it just does the swap. Like theoretically, that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, or like transfer some either tokens or stable coins to your friend in another continent, or lend, like borrow something to other friends, or like split the payment, or like everything can be automated, because this is about like Web3, like this value component comes in, and this is the thing that we are like in Web3 different to Web2, where those like financial systems are separated, whereas in Web3 it's all like compatible and interconnected with each other, and the only missing like component here and like element is the usability of that, because we have to like use different bridges to cross chain and so on and so forth. But for the agents, it doesn't really matter if the agent will have to like perform transactions or 20. Like it doesn't really matter for them. So like for us, it really does.
Yeah.
So what would be your recommendation for, it seems like DeFi is going to be the first sector to kind of like really experience its AI like transformation. What about other sectors like gaming, like GameFi and such? Like what would you recommend developers on that end of the, the market economy, I guess, to what is it they should be starting to focus on as far as data aggregation in order to have a similar UX leap or agentic assistance in that type of like ecosystem outline? Like I'd imagine it'd be much more complex and difficult, right? Because we're tasking agents to essentially take on embodiment forms in these games and like actually interact with like virtual space and stuff like that. I don't think that's, in your opinion, how do you interpret like that technical lift?
Yeah, going from 2D to 3D.
Yeah. Frankly, I'm not so involved in the gaming space. I wouldn't say that I have mature like take on that. Like I would say that probably like kind of like no-brainers for me are that the game developer studios will be utilizing the agents again for the better UX for their users. So the gamers that are trading skins or whatever the feature will be within the game in terms of the on-chain stuff will be having will not have to like sign 3 times the transaction via MetaMask and so on.
Yeah.
Because again, the agents will be doing for them. So I would say probably that might be, again, one of the lacking points right now in terms of the GameFi, that the like casual gamers are not used to actually sign transactions via wallets, which like sounds weird for them. And basically, maybe thanks to the agents, the producers of those games will be able to make such good user experience as they won't be even noticing that something is happening on the back end through the blockchains. And I would say if we will achieve such implementations in any of the sectors, whether they will be like DeFi AI or anything else, I think the others will just follow because it will be a no-brainer for everyone.
Yeah, I think so. I think AI, obviously, it lends a lot of value adds to all these ecosystems, improving UX. Obviously, in the gaming / metaverse sector, there's like a cold start problem, like a lack of player liquidity, really. So it's like having some sort of agentic presence in these ecosystems might solve a lot of problems in that regard. So something that we've been like really trying to like understand, like how that's going to roll out and manifest. But what's your take overall as far as like autonomous agents? So we've covered, the Spore experiment with like trusted execution environments and stuff like that. And there seems to be like another underlying like movement of like, we could do AI agents and we can make them very good assistance for human users, end users, but there's also like, we want these things to be fully autonomous in the future and like have their own control essentially over what it is they pick and choose as far as where to participate. Like, what is your understanding also like the stage of where we are on that timeline, and what is Cookie like contribution to that end?
I wouldn't say we are at this stage yet of like autonomy. Obviously, we would love to be there, but the tech is not ready for that. So like we are waiting for the guys from Web2 to deliver something cooler.
Interesting.
So we can make them more autonomous, basically. But it will happen. I'm pretty sure about that. So I don't have any issue with like building already, even like before this will happen, because the builders that are already building something around the agents will be much more ready for the new update that maybe will come in a week from now. We don't know. So basically, you have to build actually to be in the race. And I think this is pretty obvious thing for all of the builders. As I said, like we don't know when and what will happen, but I think it will be one of the it will be many most exciting things that we will experience. Like I'm not sure if this will be still exciting at some point, but maybe even scary. But it will be something novel, something innovative, something that like unprecedented. So it's good to be in this race and like understand it. The Web3 ethos and generally the approach is, I would say, more open for generally like people and the citizens of the world, because you can like invest and have a stake of this bet basically and like own it. Whereas like in Web2, it's pretty hard for anyone to invest in OpenAI, for example, right now, or any other private company that is building cool stuff. And we believe in this cool stuff. We believe that this will change the world, but basically we cannot invest like obviously the companies that are investable, that are publicly traded, like Nvidia and others are pumping in the recent like years and months. And basically the crypto gives opportunity for like probably hundreds of millions of people to own a stake of this huge bet on AI. And I think like the crypto AI is a no-brainer in terms of the synergies, because thanks to the blockchain, thanks to its like interoperability, permissionless and trustless way of working, agents can actually become autonomous. As like in Web 2, they don't have identity, they cannot like create their bank account. There have to be like multiple intermediaries between the agents and their like financial ownings. Whether like in Web3 they can own something, they can trade it, they will be doing like magic probably with those assets in the future using DeFi, the whole infrastructure we are having right now that we don't have time to use, but they won't be caring about having time because they can run 24/7 and like they can duplicate our themselves in like thousands way. So basically it will be also challenging for people to like differentiate agents from humans. So that's why those like human proofs will be for sure needed. This is also another no-brainer for me. I think like the future of blockchains is like agentic, and basically far majority of the future transactions will be performed by agents, maybe even like 90%.
That's interesting.
Makes a lot of sense. Just not have to deal with the complexities and such. It's
I can see like the experience of jumping into the metaverse and you're interacting with different applications as a human, but your agent, your kind of like partner agent is really completing those transactions and doing the swaps and doing like all the annoying things that take you out of like the experience, and the agent is sort of taking care of it for you. And so that kind of brings me to kind of like the next thought here is we were interacting with your Agent Cookie terminal on your platform. Do you want to describe like what that is exactly and what is happening? Because Agent Cookie is just one of like 6 or so agents. So yeah, tell us what's happening there.
Yeah, sure. So basically, this is like the very first version of the data swarm terminal we are building, and it just like gives kind of a teaser and sneak peek of what we are building ultimately, and that I described briefly at the beginning of our conversation in terms of this like deep research feature. And the data swarm that we are right now utilizing is like kind of a showcase of what the future of like dealing with the data is. Right now, it's very limited in terms of the data sets. We wanted to be pretty sure about that the data are accurate, that they are like correct, and so on and so forth. We will be obviously expanding in terms of like extending in terms of the data sets, data sources, and ultimately with like different data sources that are not like publicly available right now from Cookie. So in the future, anyone will be able to run such data swarm, like individual one basically for yourself using those different data sources. In terms of the things that we are already working on in like more near future is like interactive terminal. So we will be like, we are already testing it internally in terms of the interactive terminal. So right now it's only like logs that you can read, but the next step and the next iteration of that hopefully coming up this month will be the interactive terminal, where you can like ask about any research or any token, and basing on those data sets we are running them, they will be like providing you some intelligence, alpha, and insights.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly to like how AI XBT terminal works right now. In terms of the further stages, we are also planning to implement some execution layers provided by some external projects. So ultimately, you will be able not only to talk with those data swarms, but also to ask them to perform specific actions on chain. So like trades, for example, or any strategies you'd like to.
I want to understand a little bit about the cost, if you can. So in that terminal, there's about maybe 6 or so agents kind of communicating with each other. You know, what if you had 1 million agents communicating with each other? Is there a cost? Is that cost prohibitive, or is that something that you're going to sort of depend on the models to become cheaper and cheaper for that to be more effective?
Good question. From what I know, like the cost isn't like significant. So we are not like kind of like worrying about that. In terms of like millions, that might be the case, obviously. But the business model here will be obviously profitable in terms of providing it to the people. So it won't be like free for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It will be including token locks as we did it with like Cookie.fun. But basically, in terms of the terminal, it won't be cheap as it isn't like for AXBT, for example. I guess it's like 200K right now for accessing it. It won't be such a amount. Obviously, to be like probably 100,000 cookie tokens. As we stated already, maybe in like more sophisticated ways of like execution, it will be a bit more, but it isn't decided yet by the DAO. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about the cost, specifically if the cost is being lowered down with every iteration of the models. Actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering if the cost is completely dependent on the models, just because anytime the agent swarm communicate with each other, it's a compute units that are being leveraged by these agents, right?
Yeah, obviously they are, and this is also the business model we will be implementing in the future. So similarly to how ChatGPT and GPT APIs are working, you have those like tokens that you are using for any other model provider, and will be most probably going with this direction that you are having cookie tokens, and this is your like those are like your credits within the app that you can use. So how much and how often and like how quickly you will spend them, it really depends on the usage of the application and the data swarm. So whether you will be only asking them about some daily report about something, or you will run the whole hedge fund on that, replacing like 4 researchers. It will depend on that, basically.
So talk to me a little bit about the kind of concept of a swarm, and I guess its application. So for example, if you have a swarm, and in this swarm, in the case that you have like Agent Cookie and you have a few other agents, do each of the agents access a different knowledge base so that when they interact with each other, the output is unexpected? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So they use, like, some of them use similar or like the same databases. Some of them are using different ones, and some of them, even though they are using the same database, they can like focus on different tasks within this database.
Gotcha.
So it's like with humans, basically. You can like have developers that are creating code, and each of them is actually focusing on specific different tasks that they are specializing at, because this is only the way how we can like fine tune it very effectively to make sure that every and each agent is good at within like this like branch of the task that he was supposed to be good, and he was supposed to like provide some intelligence about. So this is the main reason. So because it's just easier to fine tune and like to improve the quality of the alpha.
And I would imagine it's also more cost effective, right? Because you're not training each of these agents on like a large data set. It's very specific. It's like crypto Twitter. It's marketing strategies. It's, you know, these like very narrow kind of like data sets, so that when they interact with each other, maybe the cost of interaction is a lot cheaper than having one AI who kind of is trained on everything. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. That's not only simpler for us, but also for the LLMs, basically. So it's cheaper if it's simpler, and also it's modular, right? So if it's modular, it can be like you can use like 4 of our agents because only those are needed for your needs and like requirements in terms of some research, and someone will be only using 1 of those. But eventually, we will be having like tens and probably hundreds of them. And thanks to this modularity, everyone will be able to set up his or her individual data swarm of the agents that will be performing specific researches for this person or like other agents, because the agents can be also our future clients. But basically, this is the modularity part that is also pretty effective in that terms.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to go into the cookie token and that's fueling the ecosystem? And can you break down like what the token is for, and just go into a little bit of detail for that token itself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so basically, the token utilities as of now are the lockup for the premium access to the Cookie.fun. In the future, the interactive terminal that I mentioned about, staking. So you can stake and basically lock your tokens for future airdrops from other projects that are partnering with Cookie DAO. On top of that, the governance. So the DAO is actually governed in a decentralized way. So by holding the tokens, you can participate and manage the DAO by yourself as well. And in the future, I would say the main component of the utility will be the tokens like app credits that I mentioned for more sophisticated versions of the deep research application we are working on. There is also one more feature related to the trading within Cookie.fun. So there are like some trading fees, and one very cool feature that is coming with like VO5 of Cookie.fun, which will be related to the trading. I cannot disclose more, but it will be also giving a very strong utility for the token itself.
So you have like access tokens. Like if you hold 10,000, you can see a terminal. If you hold 100,000, you can see another version of the terminal. Do you want to go into details? So like, what is the value in seeing the terminal? Like, what do you get from that?
I mean, like the interactive one. So, like basically the interactive, so you can like interact with the terminal, so you can get alpha on specific topics, on specific sectors, time-wise, token-wise. So you can ask what's going on today, what is hot today, what is being provided by the by the best KOLs in terms of like AI agents or GameFi or memes. What is the name of the CZ doc and whatever you'd like ask about.
Yeah, you could do that on X as well, right? But I'm guessing communicating directly through the terminal, it's like alpha on demand in comparison, because everybody's banging AIXPT nonstop. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I'd imagine people will be banging, Agent Cookie similar requests, right? What is your insight into this? But is the benefit of having terminal access is you get frontline access to that?
Yeah, real time.
That's one, and also you have much more comprehensive answers, because like answers on the X are like very short. Also, it's applicable for AIXBT, I would say. I wouldn't risk to like trade basing on those short answers, because there are like multiple things that you have to take into account while deciding. Also, like even the strategy to buy specific assets is like tactic, how to do it in terms of like DCA or whatever, is pretty crucial to not to be hard, actually, because even if you know that, okay, like AIXBT or like Cookie agent is bullish on something, it doesn't really matter that you have to go all in right now and buy this asset. So I would say this will be like this financial assistant, kind of like, obviously not financial without financial advices, but like assistant that is actually helping you to and like guiding you to not to be racked in the crypto space by scams or by very short-term narratives that can go away within a week.
What is the difference between having 10,000 or 100,000 tokens as far as the terminal goes?
Yeah, so basically the terminal will be available only for the 100,000 if you lock the 100,000 tokens.
Gotcha.
And just curious, the additional AI agents with these specialized like knowledge bases, well, they're going to be coming from the Cookie DAO team, like internally, or is this going to be like an open access? Anybody can contribute their own like knowledge specialty over time? And is there, if that's the case, like, is there some sort of like validation process just to ensure like, these knowledge sets are like reliable?
Not racist.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Good question. So basically, it will be we are coming with this approach of like delivering MVP, not like the final solution in like half a year from now, but delivering MVP ASAP, and then iterating based on like the user's feedback. This is like the best way you can do that, actually. You can build anything. And how we will be approaching that is that first of all, you will be able to add your own sources for yourself. So I assume you won't be having any willingness to rack yourself with your bad data sources. So it will be only available for you if you will like plug in something outside of the data sources we are providing. The next iterations will be including also potential monetization of those data sets that you are providing. And this is where we are coming for this like data quality and accuracy validation. It's very complicated topic, and I would say we could probably talk about it another like hour only about that, because like this is like very tough and challenging. But basically we have like reputation mechanisms in Web3. We have like transparent on-chain history. So there are multiple ways actually in Web3 to validate that and to provide some like reputation scorings, for example, of those stakeholders and data providers.
Yes. Okay, good. Well, I think that's a good cliffhanger, because it's good to know that that's like the future direction. Like you're saying, right now it's all about getting the MVP out, which is obviously crucial, just so you could build that initial, network effect and like have cookie data like leverage. Because it seems like everybody is launching an AI agent launchpad pretty soon. You got AI16Z with theirs on the way. Arc is teasing theirs. Obviously, Virtuals already has theirs, but now on Solana's, and more will come, right? And so I guess the strategy now is to have all these agents that are going to become like pumping out in mass velocity, like leveraging cookie some form, fashion, or some way, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
this is the goal.
That is the
goal. I believe we will achieve that. Frankly,
yeah, I think you will too, because people are definitely tired of like what do you call it, slop agents. That kind of really don't say much. They're just like tweeting all day about just whatever. Like I think the market is waiting to like for that breakthrough moment where we can tangibly put our hand on some sort of like we're progressing to like a new stage of like AI agents, at least if the ones that have their presence on Twitter, right? Really, like we're waiting to see AI agents like perform outside of Twitter. Like that's another like thing we're all anticipating, right? So the strategy is sound, but yeah, it's like iterating further is really important to onboarding more like ecosystem contribution. So that way, people who have these other specialties can like start to
leverage them. Yeah.
Well, to bring them into the ecosystem. So now like all these agents have much more expanded capabilities, right? So it's good to see that you understand that. So yeah, we'd definitely like to have you back on once you're closer to that so that we can kind of like have that hour-long conversation about how do you do that reliably, right?
Yeah, and Philip, final thought here. You mentioned earlier about deep research. Can you go a little bit more in depth as to like, what you were talking about, and any upcoming products?
Yeah, I'm thinking if I can do that. Yeah, I would say like this will be the main new product of ours that we are building right now, and it is aimed to be literally the best intelligence layer for any business and individual in crypto and any use case in terms of the research. And we'd like to make it interoperable, if I might say like that, with any digital like browser data source, whether it's like the website or API or CSV or like notes or like the chat history. We'd like to make it available to plug into any of those sources, like normalize them, process them, map them in an accurate way. So anyone will be able to use those sources for its purposes and needs. So basically, all in like one data app for any data source. This is like the ultimate goal here.
Sure.
And I think this is the only way how we can be in the game in like half or like a year from now and be still a market leader of like data provider.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, being able to supply this AI with your own data in a way where it's like very easy to do, like that's a very big deal. So we're really excited about that. And Philip, thank you so much for joining us. This hour has been very, very interesting, very fast hour, I would say. AI is like you can talk all day about it. So I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. For everyone listening, all the links will be in the description. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section below. I appreciate you all for watching, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.